I'm going to read from John chapter 20, verses 19 to 23. Is this what David read yesterday? Okay, more or less. Okay. Okay. On the evening of that first day of the week, I take that to be on the evening of the day of resurrection. I think that would be right in saying that. What a day. What a day. And the disciples were together with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders. No wonder. They were looking for him everywhere, weren't they? Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." After he said this, he showed them his hands and side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. Again, Jesus said, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you." And with that, he breathed on them and said, "Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive anyone's sins, their sins are forgiven. If you do not forgive them, they are not forgiven." So Jesus appears to his disciples who are hiding, fearing discovery by the religious leaders who needed to know where he was, presumably so that they could put to bed the myth, as they wanted to say, that Jesus was alive again. They wanted to produce a body. Interesting that it says that they were not hiding from the Romans and the soldiers. They were hiding from the religious leaders of the time. And Jesus appears despite the fact that the doors were locked. Wouldn't you have loved to have been there and to see how he did that? Did he just appear? Did he kind of do a beam me up Scotty thing, if you remember Star Trek? And, all those little bits just kind of gradually put together to become him. How did he do that? Did he just walk through the wall, complete as he was? I don't know. But it would get your attention, wouldn't it? And quick, it would get your attention. And I think it's lovely that the first thing he says, the first thing is peace. Peace. He speaks peace to their fear. The doors were locked because of their fear, and Jesus comes and says, "Peace. Peace to you." And he is still the speaker of peace into our lives today. And if we were to think about in the New Testament, of course, it's in Greek, but if we were to think about that word peace as it would have been as the Hebrew term of shalom. Shalom means so much more than the absence of conflict, the absence of war. It speaks of wholeness and reconciliation, of well-being and healing. He says peace. Where do you need Jesus to speak peace to you today? Peace to fear? Peace to anxiety? Peace to health? Peace to your mind? Peace to your future? Perhaps peace to your past? Peace to your family? Your doubts, your worries? He speaks peace. Peace be with you. It's interesting that it doesn't seem that they recognize him immediately. Or at least it doesn't give us the impression that they recognize him immediately. Peace be with you. And then he showed them his hands and side, and then they were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. But I wonder if they recognized his voice. Because when we were going through our series last week, when we got to the storm on the lake and Jesus walked on the water to them, they were in fear, and it was Jesus' voice that they recognized before they actually could see who it was. It was his voice that was familiar. When he appeared to Mary, she recognized his voice, didn't she? And there's something about the voice, I think, of Jesus that can be so much more familiar and recognizable to us. Listen for his voice. Sometimes we struggle to feel his presence, but listen for his voice. He shows them his scars. Those scars that he still carries, that's a thought, isn't it? That Jesus is at the right hand of Father in heaven, made perfect and whole, but carries the scars. And it says that they were overjoyed. The Bible is a master of understatement sometimes, isn't it? A master of understatement. They joyed with great joy, is what it means. They joyed with great joy. But this was not a party. This was not the time to be discussing, how did you do that, Jesus? Where have you been the last 3 days? How did you come through the wall? How did you get out the grave? Who took the stone away? All those questions that I would have been wanting to ask, and no doubt you have questions that you would have wanted to have asked him at that point. Where have you been? Why did you have to go? If you come back now, why did you have to die in the first place? You know, all of those kind of questions that we have going through our heads. This is a business meeting. And it's business that's important that they listen to. He has a mission to give them. And so the first thing he says, again, the second thing he says is the same as the first thing. Peace be with you. Twice he said that now. I wonder if the second time is so that he can bless what he's about to say to them. The first time was to perhaps speak to their fear of what was happening as he appeared. The second time might relate to what he's about to say. As the Father has sent me, so I send you. As the Father has sent me. The meaning of that is loaded with the sense that the Father who did the sending of Jesus is absolutely, completely, and fully invested in the sending. Does that make sense? He's completely invested in that mission. It's not just a, off you go, do what you can. Father is completely invested in the sending of Jesus on to that mission. And so when Jesus says, I send you, it has that same complete investment of Jesus in the sending of us. So he doesn't just send us out and say, go, get on with it, do what you can. He's invested in it. He's invested in the work that he asks us to do. And the Father who did the original sending is still completely invested in it too. So this is Father and Son's investment in the work that he gives us. Overseen by God the Father, but now redeployed to us. Wow. Wow. The disciples are to take up the work of Jesus. And so must we. And then I love this bit. Did you notice that then after he'd said that, he breathed on them and said, receive the Holy Spirit. This is not Pentecost. This is not the full coming of the Holy Spirit for everybody as Pentecost was. I think this is the commissioning of those disciples to do the work that Jesus has just given them. If you like, the breathing of the Holy Spirit on them is Jesus' signature on that contract. I'm invested in this work that I'm asking you to do. It will sustain you. It will help you. And this is quite a picture, because when he says, receive the Holy Spirit, it reminds me of watching my little great-nieces catch a ball. Aurora is 4, Lila is 2. Aurora's much better at catching a ball now, but if you watch a child learn to catch a ball, they stand there, don't they, with their hands like this, and what happens to the ball? It goes straight through, doesn't it? It actually takes children a little while to realise that they have a part to play in catching the ball. They actually have to catch it, to physically catch it, and to hold it. And that word, receive the Holy Spirit, has that same kind of meaning. We need to grab it, actively receive it, and hold on to it. It's been offered, but if we don't do the ball catch thing, it'll drop away. We have to claim it for ourselves, every one of us. Claim it for ourselves. So in terms of welcoming the Holy Spirit into my life, am I like this? Fill me, Lord, fill me, fill me. Send the Holy Spirit. And every time he does, I drop it. Or am I grabbing it every time? What do you do? Does it trickle through your hands? Or do you grab it? Or breathe it in? And that's where I want to finish today. I don't want to go on and talk about the forgiveness, about the commission that Jesus gave them, about if you forgive, their sins are forgiven, and if they're not, you're not. Because I want to just focus on the Holy Spirit. He breathed on them, he breathes on us. We live after Pentecost so that we know the Holy Spirit has been poured out for everyone. But I still think we have to actively receive it and take him for ourselves. And that mission to continue the work, he's not asking us all to be clever with words, to know the Bible inside out, to preach, to teach, to be a missionary somewhere remote. He may ask some of us to do that. What he wants is for our lives to be a window to the work that he's done in us, that others might catch a glimpse of what it is to live a life filled with the Spirit. And if we're going to do that, we need the Holy Spirit in all his fullness. So breathe on me, Jesus, today. And breathe on these, your beloved, here in this chapel. a day.